All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be working on Chapter 8 for today. This is our last section before our test. This is multiplying special cases. So that's our goal. We're going to find a square of a binomial and the product of a sum and difference. I'll show you what happens there. Okay. So here's the idea. Okay. As we're going to FOIL today, you might see these patterns. Okay, let me zoom in a touch more so we can see this a little bigger. Okay. So this is a square of a sum. First off, do you guys agree? If you have something like this, x squared, you guys agree x squared means x times x? You guys agree with that? Or if you see 2 squared, that's the same thing as 2 times 2, right? So if we see a quantity squared today, then we can write that as the quantity times itself. So in this case, if I see a plus b quantity squared, then that's a plus b times a plus b. Okay? So we got a plus b quantity squared, that's a plus b times a plus b. So here we go. A times a, using a little FOIL, that's a squared. A times b, what's a times b? AB. Do it again on the bottom here. We'll do this in green. My inners, b times a, is not ba. You want to write it in alphabetical order. That's another a times b. And b times b is b squared. So as we take a look, this simplifies my outers and inners. I've got AB plus AB. Well, how many of those do you see? I got 2 of them. So we get a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Okay. So some people say, hey, if you see this pattern, instead of writing it out and FOILing, you can just take this guy squared and that guy squared at the ends, and then multiply the 2 numbers times 2 and put it in the middle. Now, for me, I don't like that idea. I just like to set up FOIL, and let's FOIL this thing. Okay. Same thing happens when you see a difference. A minus b quantity squared is a minus b times a minus b. And if we simplify, a times a is a squared. A times negative b is now negative ab. And when we do our inners and lasts, negative b times a is negative ba, or we prefer to write that as negative ab in alphabetical order. And what's negative b times negative b? What's a negative times a negative? Positive, and then b times b is just b squared. So you pretty much get the same thing, except in the middle, negative ab minus ab is now negative 2ab plus b squared. So they're trying to show you a pattern there. Now for me, I don't like memorizing patterns like this. I just like to FOIL. Let's FOIL this thing. Okay? But there is something that's cool that happens in the next one. This is what we say, this is what's called a product of a sum and a difference. Sum, what's sum mean? Addition, right? And what's difference mean? Subtraction, right? So we have a sum and a difference. We have a plus b times a minus b, or we have a minus b times a plus b. Either way, doesn't matter. Something kind of neat happens. If I take my first of FOIL, a times a is still a squared. We'll take a look what happens with your outers and inners. A times b is still ab. But what happens with your inners when you take negative b times a? What is that? What's negative b times a again? Negative b times positive a. Negative times a positive. Negative, and then ab. Okay. Last but not least, negative b times b is now a negative b squared. And now do you see what happens? What happens in the middle here? What happens with your outers and inners of FOIL? what's AB minus AB? Those guys cancel. And that will leave you A squared minus B squared. Okay, so that one's a nice little pattern to remember. So if you have a sum and difference of the same numbers, you'll see those guys will cancel out. So I don't really remember the first two, the square of a sum or the square of a difference, but I definitely remember this one. I always remember outers and inners will cancel there. All right, so let's put this into action. Let's take a look at number 1 so you can see what we're supposed to do. So you can remember the pattern, or if you see x plus 5 quantity squared, just rewrite it. Is x plus 5 times x plus 5. And then FOIL. That 4-letter F word you can say in math class. You can say a lot of 4-letter F words. FOIL. Give me another one. Fudge is not a 4-letter F word. That's actually, what, 5 letters? Fudge. What's a 4-letter F word you can say in math class? Yeah?
Fire.
Fire you can't say. You can't say that one. Oh, man. Or the swear word. Don't say the swear word. You can say 5, the number 5. You can say 4. You can say foil. But there's definitely 2. Fire and the bad word we know not to say. All right, here we go. FOIL this thing. What's x times x, y'all? X squared. Yes, ma'am. X times 5 is 5x. Do it again. 5 times x, 5x. And last but not least, the last terms. 5 times 5 is 25. So you'll see that it's x squared and 5 squared on the end, and then these two just multiply by 2. We're adding together. 5x and 5x is now 10x. Okay. So final answer, x squared plus 10x plus 25. That thing is foiled, ready to go. All right. All right, which one? I'll let you decide. Do you want to do 2 or 3? Which one looks funner? 9?
2.
2, Gail says. All right. So again, I can remember the pattern, or let's just rewrite it. That's what I prefer to do. 2x plus 3y.
Don't you just distribute the exponent?
No, sir. Because then you're going to miss. This is a great question. Don't just square the 2x and square the 3y, okay, because you're going to miss the middle term. So over here, if you just squared both of these guys, you get x squared, and 5 squared is 25, but you're missing your middle term. That's a great question. But if you do that, wrong. Okay, you're going to miss the O and the I of FOIL. All right, so great question. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right, so again, I rewrite it. I got 2x plus 3y, 2x plus 3y. The nice thing about this section, guys, it's great practice from the last section, right? So let's do our FOIL, first, outers, inners, last. Let's take 2x times 2x. London, what do you get here? What's 2x times 2x? 4x. X times x? Yeah, yep. So 2 times 2 is 4, and x times x is x squared, so 4x squared. Outers. Morgan, what is 2x times 3y? Yes, 2 times 3 is 6, and then x times y is just xy. Always want to write that in alphabetical order. Okay, don't write it yx, have it always xy. All right, awesome. We do the next one. 3y times 2x. 3 times 2 is 6. Y times x is the same thing as x times y, and I want you to write it in alphabetical order as 6xy. All right, last but not least, I got 3y times 3y. Kyle, what's 3y times 3y? 9y squared. Perfect. All right, so we simplify. We get 4x squared. Here our outers and inners add up. 6xy plus 6xy. Now I have how many? How many of those guys do I have? How many? 12 of those guys. 12 xy's. and then plus 9y squared. And there we go. All right. Any questions? So if somebody commented, can we just square these guys and be done with it? Well, that will get you your outside terms, but it doesn't give you your outers and inners put together. Okay, so you got to watch out. Okay. All right. Questions? All right. Let's do one of the difference ones. So this is multiplying using square of a difference. Which one do you want to do? 4, 5, or 6? Do you want to do the hard one, number 6, or 4 or 5?
Oh.
Number 4? Faux, as Gail says. Faux. Number one thing I always use is rewrite it. 2 squared is 2 times 2. 4 squared is 4 times 4. A quantity squared is its quantity times itself. So rewrite it. Now, do you guys want to see the box method again? Is everybody using FOIL? You want to see the box? All right, let's see the box method, or also known as the table. So I'll refresh your memory what that looks like. All right, so I see I got 2 terms and 2 terms. So again, this is the box or table method. So y minus 7 here and y minus 7 here. So if you're struggling with FOIL, well, this is another option. This will give you your 4 boxes, your 4 terms. When they meet in a box, they multiply. So y times y is y squared. Y times negative 7 or negative 7 times y is just negative 7y. Same thing happens in this box. That's negative 7y. And then what's negative 7 times negative 7? What do you guys get? Negative 7 times negative 7. Negative 49. Close. What's the negative times the negative? Positive 49. Very good. All right. Combine your like terms. In this case, these 2 diagonals right here, we can combine those. So final answer I would get is y squared. What's negative 7y and negative 7y? You owe me $7 and borrow 7 more bucks. Now you owe me $14. You better pay up. Better pay up. There we go. Only time it cancels is one's a plus and one's a minus. If they're both minuses, now it's even more minus that you owe me. Okay. All right. Do you feel like you need a C, 5 or 6 done? Shaking the heads, no. We're okay. Thumbs are up. This is pretty easy, isn't it? If you can do what we did in 8-3, this is pretty easy. Let's take a look at number 7 and 8, and we'll call it a day. All right. So this says multiplying using a product of a sum and a difference. So I have one's a plus, one's a minus, or one's a minus, one's a plus. So again, we're just going to go FOIL this guy here. First, outer, centers, last. If you need to, use the table. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. I think FOIL is a little faster. I don't have to make the big boxes. X times x is x squared. Outside terms, x times 9 is 9x. Inside terms, one's right next to each other. Negative 9 times x is negative 9x. And what's negative 9 times 9? Negative 81. Very good. All right, take a look at the OI. 9x minus 9x. What happens there? They cancel. Yeah, karate chop those guys. Those cancel. 9x minus 9x, that's nothing. And now what I'm left with is x squared minus 81. Final answer. X squared minus 81. And that follows that pattern. If you have a plus b, a minus b, you get a squared minus b squared. So that's a case where outers and inners are not there. Okay. All right. You want to do 9 real quick? Let's be crazy. Let's do 9. I said 8, but let's do 9 because I see a little Something you might get scared of, but it's not too bad. Let's look at 9. Last one here, gang. First, outers, inners, last. You want to use table this time. What do you guys want? Foil or table or box method? Foil. Okay. Here we go. 3x squared times 3x squared. 3 times 3 we know is 9. What's x squared times x squared? X to the 4th. Very good. All right, now we do this one. 3x squared times 2y. 3 times 2 we know is 6. And then x squared y. So that takes care of O, F and O. Fo. We got fo done. Now we got to do the ill. Right? Got to do our inners. Negative times a positive. So negative 2 times a positive 3 is now negative 6. And then y times x squared is not yx squared, it's x squared y, right in alphabetical order. Last but not least is our last terms, negative 2y times 2y. What's negative 2y times 2y? What do you get there, Rylan? What's negative 2y times 2y? What's negative 2 times 2? No. What's negative 2 times 2? Negative 4. What's y times y? Y squared. You know? Everybody okay with that? First, outers, inners, less. Take a look at your outers and inners, your oi term. What happens with the oi right here? They cancel. The reason why it cancels is this was a minus, that's a plus, or vice versa. One's going to be a positive, one's going to be a minus, and they're going to cancel out. Final answer, 9x to the 4th minus 4y squared. That's, again, sum and difference. Product of a sum and difference, or difference and sum. Do you need to see another one, ladies and gents? Yes or no? Any questions? Nada, nothing. 9 if you're in German.